Hello everyone, and welcome to the Securely for Teachers tutorial for staff members of the School District of Washington. We're excited to partner with Securely for our Chromebook management system. In today's tutorial, you will learn how to use the Securely dashboard and how to monitor Chromebook activity during designated course times. Before beginning, teachers must have established courses in Google Classroom. This does not mean that Classroom has to be used for the delivery of assignments, announcements, or anything else, but the teacher must have created courses and added student rosters to these courses. If this is not done, Securely will not work. This is the only program with which Securely syncs the names of your students, so this is an imperative consideration. So before proceeding, Google Classroom courses should be created for each section you teach. Secondary level teachers can differentiate this by class period. Elementary level teachers can differentiate this by student groups. As an example, one teacher has their own classes most of the day, but also teaches a particular subject to each grade level teacher's class in that particular grade level. So before proceeding with the tutorial, please again ensure you have created Google Classroom courses for each section you teach. To begin using Securely, you'll want to navigate to the website securely.com. Take note of the spelling on the screen, SECURLY.com. This takes you to the Securely homepage, but it is not specific to our district. In order to access what you need, you'll first want to bookmark this page for further use, as it will be something you visit again and again. And then you'll want to choose Login at the top of the screen. You'll see three options. For the Classroom component, you will choose Device Console on the following screen. The easiest way to get through this process is to click Sign In with Google and then choose your Washington email address. If you have other email addresses on this menu, please make sure you only use the Washington one, as that is the only one authorized to be used in Securely. Once you've logged in, you'll see the Teacher Tools dashboard. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see three links under the word Location, Classes, Web Links, and Teacher Tools. You always want to be on Teacher Tools in order to use the Chromebook management tools. On the upper bar in the right side, you will see your name with a drop-down arrow. There is a My Account button and a Log Out button. It is imperative that when you are not using Securely, that you log out of it. Given the fact that this program can remotely observe student Chromebook screens, we need to do everything we can to protect that student's privacy and for nothing to be seen by eyes that should not. So please make sure you log out when finished. To begin using Securely with your actual classroom dashboard, you're going to, from the drop-down menu where it says Class, locate the course that you are wanting to start. Once you've chosen it, you'll see your screen has changed, and it will have gray silhouettes with red check marks affixed to each at the bottom. Each student that was enrolled in the Google Classroom course you created will appear here. At this point in time, you want to uncheck any student whose Chromebook is not subject to the Chromebook monitoring software that day. So if someone was absent, if someone is not working on a Chromebook, they're finished with the activity or something, or perhaps they've even lost their Chromebook privileges, you can uncheck them here until you get an accurate representation of whose Chromebooks will be looked at during your session. Once you've done this, go to the top of the screen again and click Start Class. A pop-up window will appear that allows you to adjust the length of the class or the end time of the class. And when that happens, if you adjust one, it will adjust the other. You'll notice three checkboxes. Enforce custom block list, you may turn on or off. This is if you as the teacher create a list of blocked sites and you want to enforce that. The second is to enforce the organization's block list. That is determined by the district firewall and web filtering system, so that cannot be manipulated. And the last one, allow students to raise hand, allows your students to remotely contact you if they have a question or need assistance. Think of it back many years ago when we had the instant message windows that would pop up on our computer screens. This is kind of what this is for your students. They can ring in and contact you without raising their hand in front of all of their peers. You may turn that feature on or off as you wish. Once you've done all of these adjustments, go ahead and click Start. If you're in this menu for too long, you may get a prompt that says incorrect class end date or time, so you may want to, or may need to, make that change. When we get here, you're going to start seeing thumbnail images of each student's Chromebook. Now, in this particular situation, I am in a course that is full of teachers. Many teachers at this point in the day are on their zero clients, so I wouldn't see their screens. I would only see a district managed Chromebook screen. Okay? Now, we've now reached the point of learning about the various tools at our disposal. Please know there is a lot of information that's going to be covered over the next several minutes, so feel free to stop the video, rewind it back, or skip forward as needed so you can glean the information necessary. I'm going to be going over several different tools and options for you. We're going to start at the top of the screen. Where we clicked Start Class a moment ago, we have an option to stop class. You'll need to click this button each time your class session is finished, and you'll need to do it in order to begin with your next class period or group. To the right of that button, you'll see a countdown ticker of how much time is remaining in your class session. This was the time that you set on the pop-up menu when we began the class. If you would like, you have a +5 minutes option here, and by clicking this, you'll see that it adds 5 minutes to your session time. This is especially effective if you have students using Chromebooks on an activity and you can tell they need more time than you had originally allotted them. You can click the +5 button as many times as needed, and this allows you to maintain your management capabilities without interrupting the student's work. Below those buttons on the left side, you will see a select option where we can select all or select none of the student Chromebooks. So if we were going to send something in a mass message or individually, this is a quick and easy way to check the students that we would want to send those things to. On the right-hand side of the same row, you'll see a View option. We're currently in what is called Screens View, where we can see thumbnails of the students' screens. To the right of that, however, we have a Tabs option. If we choose Tabs, you'll notice we no longer see screens, but we see a list of the tabs that are open on that person's device. You cannot see the screens on the Tabs view, but either one is beneficial. You can toggle easily between those two views back and forth, much like you do in other programs. You have at the top of the screen what I call whole class action buttons. These buttons allow you to view and interact with every screen in the classroom that has been selected with the Select tool. And then below that, next to each student, you will see 4 icons that are individual student device action buttons. These buttons allow you to view and interact with a student's screen on an individual basis. We're going to go through each of these tools one at a time. We'll take a look first at the whole class action buttons. At the top of the screen, under the course name and time, you'll see 5 icons. The first, Screen Lock. If we click on this, we will get asked the question, do we want to apply screen lock to all devices in our class? And a yes or a no. What this does is it allows you to force lock every screen where it is. This may be for a disciplinary or redirective reason, or it may simply be to focus students on something important. For example, if you were going over a particular math procedure or showing a map in a history or social studies class, you might want to lock all screens on that particular item or example so every eye was focused on it while you're giving your explanation. So the screen lock is the first tool. The second is the sight lock. If we click on sight lock, do we want to apply sight lock again, yes or no? By doing this, we have the option here to restrict our students to a single website. So let's say today that our students were doing a web quest, a scavenger hunt, but it was all information that could be found in the school district website. We could type in that URL and force our students to only be on that page during our session. We also have the ability down near the bottom to force close all other tabs. So if students were to come into the room and have 2 or 3 tabs open on other things, when they got into your session, it would close the other tabs and they would go to this one single site that you have dictated. You would then click Site Lock and that would deploy that. It's important to know that these parameters that you're setting are only good for your session. So when this class ends in an hour and 3 minutes, in my example, the students whom I have locked onto a particular site will no longer be locked. And if they go into another teacher's class after mine, that teacher's parameters will override mine anyway. But it's all based on the time of the session. The third icon in the row here is Release. Click this button to reset all commands you have deployed to student devices. So if you're getting to a point in class where people are winding down or you're going to allow your students more freedom on their devices, you may click Release. There's 2 more tools here. The first, Push URL. You'll click this button to force open a specific website on all student devices. This requires you to enter in the URL of the site before deploying this command. This is a great tool. It's similar to the site lock in how it works, except for this still allows students to visit other sites. But a good example of this would be as if a student needed to navigate to a lengthy or a confusing web address with a lot of characters. It might just be easier for you as the teacher to click Push URL, choose Yes, and then type in the address here in the bar. Once you've done that, you click Push URL and it automatically will open that tab on the screens of all of your students. I'm going to get out of that. And the last of the buttons for the whole class device action is the Announce button. If I click on this, if we apply Announce, Yes, and then we get what looks like a chat window, we can type a message here and click Announce. This is awesome if students are really focused on something and you don't want to create a distraction by saying we have 5 minutes remaining or something of that nature. You could type it here, click Announce, and every student would get a pop-up on their screen containing your message. So those 5 tools are the whole class action buttons. In just a second, we'll take a look at the individual student action button. The individual student device action buttons appear next to each thumbnail or silhouette under the student's name. You'll see 4 small icons. The first, Pin to Top, allows you to take that student's thumbnail grid and move it to the top row of the screen. This is great if you need to closely or regularly monitor a student's screen. This is a quick access thing. And it's also great for quickly finding students who you've identified as needing to be monitored in a large class. If you were to teach a large elective, a PE course or something that has a great number of students, this is a quick way to pin students to the top of the screen so you don't have to scroll and scroll to find the ones you're looking for. The second option here is the little thought bubble, speech bubble that says chat. If I click on chat, it's going to open a chat window with a specific student. It'll pull up their name, and then there is a message box at the bottom. I simply type what I want to say, so I might say, you need to focus on your work, and then I would click send. Okay? Please understand, this doesn't have to be disciplinary. You could simply interrupt your student in a positive way by saying, I see you're researching extra hard. Great job. And send them just that little burst of encouragement during class without doing it in front of the whole room or creating disruption or anything like that. So the chat window is kind of nice if you're into that sort of thing. If you wish to redirect a student or compliment a student or answer a question or anything like that quietly, privately, this is an awesome tool. The next option would be history. If I were to click on the little clock for history, what it's going to do is it's going to open up the student's browsing history. You'll see here, since the student isn't logged in, nothing will appear, and that's important. We can't see a student, again, who's not logged into a Chromebook at this moment. If I pick another one, however, that is open, I'll see here, during my session only, these are the websites that this student has appeared on. It'll tell me when they access the site itself, what it's called, and then the time spent on it. This is excellent if you need data or information. If a student tells you they spent the entire hour researching and you open this and you can see that no, they were actually only researching for 2 minutes, this kind of gives you that proof. Okay. You also have the command history. So if you had sent the student commands virtually, you have that ability. You have saved screens if you took screenshots of the student's computer, which I'll show you in a moment. And you have chat history if we sent those private messages with students. So those things are all there under the history button. The last option for an individual student is the device view. When I do this and click on device view, it's going to give options that appear on the whole class dashboard, but it's also going to have options to save their screen and then print their screen. So these are options that will benefit you if you need proof of what a student was doing during a particular class or at a particular time. I do have the ability from here to close the student's screen. So for example, this student is on Cool Math Games right now, and if they're supposed to be working on something, I can scroll down and I can see they have Cool Math open and they have Schoology open. Those are the two tabs. I can simply click the trash can, and what's going to happen when I do that is on that student's Chromebook, that tab just closed. And you can see it's updated here. Now the only open tab they had is Schoology. And then I would click the back button and I'm back to where I was. Okay. I also, from the whole class dashboard, can see the URL of each site for each student. So at the bottom of the thumbnail, you'll see that there is a web address, and at the top you'll see the title of the page. If I were to click on this web address, it would open the site in a new tab so I could get a closer look at what that student was viewing. Now we're going to go ahead and close it up. When it's time to end your class session, at the top of the screen, you'll simply click Stop Class. You'll notice what has happened there is that all of my students have now gone back to the gray silhouettes and red check marks. I no longer have a timer. I no longer have any of these tools that are clickable. So the session has ended. I do have the ability to see what happened during that class, however. I'll get this information through email. At the end of each session, an email will come from this address, system@techpilotlabs.com, and it will tell me the name of the course, the session summary, the date, and the time frame in which the session occurred. If I look in the body of this email, I will see how long the class was, how many students were in it, and then below the activities or commands that I as the teacher was able to use or had to use during that session. Number of screen locks, number of push URLs, in other words, I sent them websites, number of site locks, number of announcements. Below that, I have top websites. So these are the sites that my students as a group visited the most, and it'll tell me what site it was, how many students accessed it, the average time they spent on it. A great thing if you're gauging if a student put in enough time on a particular activity. Finally, when we scroll down to the bottom, we'll have student browsing history. And what this will do, it'll show each site that they were on during your session, as well as how many minutes they spent on that website. So this is great information to have here for each of your sessions. This concludes our tutorial for using Securely for Teachers. We hope that today you've learned a lot of information that will benefit you in your classroom Chromebook management. Securely is an awesome and effective tool, and we're happy to encourage its use wherever we can. If you ever have any questions or encounter any difficulties using Securely, please do not hesitate to reach out to one of the educational technology specialists at TLC. We thank you very much for watching. Best of luck using Securely, and have a great rest of the day.